First contact and rising tensions. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, humanity had always wondered if they were alone. As the 22nd century dawned, that question was finally answered, but not in the way anyone had expected. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the viewport of Ganymede Station, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling storms of Jupiter beyond. At 32, she was the youngest head of xenobiology in the United Earth Space Agency's history. Her comm unit chimed, displaying a priority message from Mission Control. Dr. Voss, report to the command center immediately. First contact scenario is in effect. Ilara's heart raced as she hurried through the station's sleek corridors. First contact. After years of searching, they'd finally found evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. In the command center, a holographic display showed a massive object decelerating as it entered the solar system. It was like nothing humanity had ever seen, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around it, easily the size of a small moon. Fleet Admiral Tariq Nasser, a veteran of the Mars conflicts, addressed the assembled team. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing history. Our long-range scans confirm this is not a natural phenomenon. We are looking at an alien vessel. As the object approached Jupiter, it suddenly changed course, heading directly for Ganymede Station. Ilara felt a mix of excitement and fear. This was the moment she'd trained for her entire career, but the reality was far more terrifying than any simulation. The alien ship came to a stop just kilometers from the station. For agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then, a beam of light shot out from the vessel, coalescing into a holographic figure in the center of the command center. The being before them was tall and lithe, with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Its eyes, large and multifaceted, surveyed the room with an unnerving intelligence. "Greetings, humans," the figure spoke, its words somehow translated into perfect English. "I am Zarthal, emissary of the Galactic Imperium. Your species has been noticed, and you are hereby invited to join our grand coalition of civilizations." Admiral Nasser stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you. We're honored by your invitation and look forward to peaceful exchange." Zarthal's expression remained impassive. "You misunderstand, Admiral. This is not an invitation, but a directive. The Imperium does not request, it commands." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Ilara glanced at Nasser, seeing the same realization in his eyes. This was not the benevolent first contact they'd hoped for. Over the next few weeks, Earth's government scrambled to respond to the Imperium's presence. More ships arrived, taking up positions throughout the solar system. They brought with them technology beyond humanity's wildest dreams and their worst nightmares. Ilara found herself working around the clock, studying the data pouring in from the alien vessels. "Their biotech is incredible," she reported to the United Earth Council. "But there's something odd. Their advancements seem stagnant, like they haven't made any significant progress in centuries." Meanwhile, Admiral Nasser was tasked with assessing the Imperium's military capabilities. His findings were grim. "Their weapons could vaporize our entire fleet in seconds. We're completely outmatched." As diplomatic talks began, it became clear that the Imperium had no interest in equal relations. They demanded Earth's complete submission, the dismantling of its military, and the handover of all advanced technology. In a closed session of the UE Council, heated debates raged. Some argued for immediate surrender, hoping to secure favorable terms. Others called for resistance, despite the overwhelming odds. It was Dr. Kai Chen, Earth's leading physicist, who offered a different perspective. "Yes, their technology is advanced, but it's also predictable. They rely on brute force, not innovation. Given time, we might be able to find weaknesses, develop countermeasures." The council was skeptical. "And how long would that take?" asked the representative from Africa. "Months? Years? The Imperium is demanding an answer now." Ilara, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Then we give them an answer. We stall. agree to negotiations, but drag them out. Buy us time. Admiral Nasser nodded slowly. It's risky, but it might be our only chance. We'll need to keep them talking while we prepare for the worst. As the meeting adjourned, Ilara couldn't shake a feeling of dread. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, contact with an advanced alien civilization. But now that it had arrived, it felt more like the beginning of a nightmare. Over the next months, Earth entered a state of silent emergency. While diplomats engaged in endless talks with the Imperium, the planet's best minds worked feverishly behind the scenes. Military production ramped up in secret facilities buried deep underground and hidden in asteroid belts. Scientists pored over every scrap of data on Imperium technology, searching for weaknesses. Ilara found herself at the forefront of this clandestine effort. Her team made breakthrough after breakthrough, reverse engineering alien biotech and adapting it for human use. But would it be enough? As the first year of the Imperium's presence drew to a close, tensions reached a breaking point. The aliens, growing impatient with Earth's delaying tactics, began to make veiled threats. Reports came in of Imperium ships destroying unmanned research outposts on the outer planets, claiming them as trespassing on Imperial territory. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the UE Council convened an emergency session. The decision they would make today would determine the fate of humanity. Admiral Nasser presented the military readiness report. We've made significant progress, but we're still outgunned. A direct confrontation would be suicide. Dr. Chen countered, but we've developed technologies they've never seen. Quantum entanglement drives, dark matter weapons. We might have a chance. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the council president. She took a deep breath, the weight of 7 billion lives heavy on her shoulders. We've bought all the time we can. The Imperium suspects our deception. If we submit now, we condemn humanity to eternal servitude. If we fight, we might not survive, but we'll do so on our terms. She turned to Admiral Nasser. Initiate Operation Defiance. May whatever gods exist have mercy on us all. As alarms blared throughout Earth's hidden military installations, Ilara looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's greatest challenge awaited. The war for survival was about to begin. The Empire's ultimatum. The Imperium's patience had run out. As Earth's hidden military preparations entered their final stages, the alien coalition made its move. Admiral Zarthal's holographic form materialized in the United Earth Council chamber, his usually impassive features twisted with barely contained anger. Humans, he began, his voice resonating with a dangerous edge. Your duplicity ends now. We have detected your clandestine military buildup. This violation of imperial decree will not stand. Council President Amara Okoro straightened in her seat, her face a mask of calm defiance. Admiral, we have done nothing but exercise our right to self-determination. The Imperium's demands. Silence. Zarthal's image flickered with the force of his outburst. You were given the honor of joining the greatest civilization in the galaxy, and you respond with deception and rebellion. The Imperium's generosity is at an end. A hush fell over the chamber as Zarthal's next words rang out. You have 24 Earth hours to surrender unconditionally. Dismantle your militaries, hand over all advanced technologies, and prepare to receive imperial governors on every continent. Failure to comply will result in the obliteration of your species. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the council in stunned silence. President Okoro's voice, when it came, was steady. You all know what this means. Admiral Nasser, initiate Phase 1 of Operation Defiance. Dr. Voss, Dr. Chen, your teams have 1 day to finalize all projects. May fortune favor the bold. As the council dispersed, a flurry of activity erupted across the globe and throughout the solar system. In hidden shipyards orbiting distant moons, stealth vessels prepared for deployment. On Earth, civilian populations began moving into vast underground shelters, a plan long in the making but only now put into action. Ilara Voss found herself in a secure lab beneath the Atacama Desert, surrounded by the fruits of months of feverish research. Bioengineered symbiotes designed to enhance human reflexes and healing. Quantum-entangled communication devices that could instantly relay messages across vast distances, undetectable by Imperial sensors. "Dr. Voss," a voice called. She turned to see Kai Chen, his usually neat appearance disheveled from sleepless nights of work. "The dark matter containment field is stable. If our calculations are correct, we can deploy the weapons without risk of spatial collapse." Ilara nodded, a grim smile on her face. "Let's hope it's enough, Kai. Because in about 23 hours, we're going to find out if humanity has a future." Across the solar system, Imperial ships began to move into attack positions. Their massive forms blotted out the stars, a silent promise of destruction. But as they advanced, they failed to notice the shadows moving behind Jupiter's moons, the asteroids that subtly changed course, the comets that suddenly altered their trajectories. In his command center on Luna Base, Admiral Tariq Nasser watched the holographic display of the solar system with steely eyes. Years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment, commanding humanity's last stand against an overwhelming alien force. But as he observed the movements of his hidden fleet, a fierce pride swelled in his chest. They might be outgunned, but humanity would not go quietly into the night. "Sir," his XO reported, "all ships report ready, waiting on your command." Nasser checked the chronometer. 5 minutes until the Imperium's deadline. He opened a channel to all Earth forces. "Men and women of Earth, this is Admiral Nasser. In a few moments, we will face the greatest threat humanity has ever known. The odds are against us, but remember this: we fight not just for our lives, but for our right to exist as a free species. Every one of you is a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and determination. Whatever happens next, know that it has been the highest honor of my life to serve with you. Godspeed, and give them hell." As the deadline approached, tension mounted across Earth and its colonies. In underground bunkers, families huddled together, watching news feeds with bated breath. On Mars, the fledgling colony prepared its meager defenses, knowing they stood little chance if Earth fell. In Geneva, President Okoro stood before the assembled world leaders, her voice broadcast to every corner of human-controlled space. "People of Earth, of Mars, of our brave outposts across the solar system. The moment of truth is upon us. For centuries, we dreamed of contact with alien life, hoping for friendship and enlightenment. Instead, we found tyranny and the threat of extinction. But in facing this threat, we have united as never before, old rivalries set aside, ancient hatreds forgotten. Today, we stand as one people, the people of Earth." She paused, her eyes blazing with determination. "To the Imperium, I say this: we reject your ultimatum. We reject your vision of a galaxy cowering under the boot of oppression. We choose freedom. We choose to fight." As if in response to her words, the sky lit up with the fire of Imperial weapons. Massive energy beams lanced down from orbit, targeting military installations and population centers. But where they should have found defenseless targets, they met resistance. Shimmering energy shields, reverse-engineered from Imperial tech and enhanced by human ingenuity, sprang to life over cities. Stealth fighters, invisible to Imperial sensors, streaked out of hidden hangars to engage the alien ships. And from the darkness of space, humanity's secret weapon revealed itself. Asteroids, hollowed out and turned into massive rail guns, opened fire on the Imperial fleet. Dark matter projectiles, moving at relativistic speeds, tore through the alien ships' supposedly impenetrable shields. The battle for Earth had begun, and the Imperium's easy victory had just evaporated. As chaos erupted across the solar system, Ilara Voss and her team raced to deploy their final projects. Quantum-entangled probes were launched towards nearby star systems, carrying the specs for humanity's newly developed technologies. If Earth fell, other human colonies might yet survive to carry on the fight. In orbit, Admiral Nasser's flagship, the UES Defiant, engaged in a deadly dance with an Imperial dreadnought. Fire control, Nasser barked. Target their main power conduits with the dark matter cannons. Helm, prepare for emergency FTL jump on my mark. The Defiant shuddered as it unleashed its experimental weapons. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent flash, a section of the Imperial ship simply ceased to exist, carved away by forces that defied the laws of physics as the Imperium understood them. But for every victory, there was a setback. Imperial forces, recovering from their initial surprise, began to press their numerical advantage. Earth's moon was scared by massive impacts as the lunar defense grid was systematically destroyed. Mars sent out a desperate distress call as Imperial landing craft breached its hastily constructed defenses. As the battle raged into its second day, it became clear that despite their innovations, humanity was fighting a losing war of attrition. For every Imperial ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. In her underground lab, Ilara worked frantically to complete her final project, a bioengineered virus designed to interface with and disrupt Imperial technology. It was a desperate gambit, one that skirted dangerously close to biological warfare. But with reports of Imperial ground forces landing in Africa and Asia, desperation was all they had left. Dr. Voss, a breathless Abe, burst into the lab. We've just received word. The Imperium. They've deployed some kind of super weapon. They're targeting Earth's core. Ilara's blood ran cold. If the Imperium was willing to destroy an entire planet, what hope did humanity have? As alarms blared and the ground trembled beneath them, Ilara made a decision. She turned to her team, determination etched on her face. Upload everything we have to the quantum network, and prepare for emergency evacuation. We're taking this fight to the stars. The war for Earth was reaching its climax, but Ilara knew that this was just the beginning. Win or lose, humanity's struggle against the Imperium would reshape the galaxy, and she intended to make sure that humanity had a say in what that new shape would be. As the lab began to crumble around them, Ilara clutched the data core containing humanity's last, desperate innovations. Whatever happened next, she vowed, the human spirit would endure. The Imperium had no idea what they'd awakened. The real war was just beginning. Humanity's ingenious countermeasures. As the battle for Earth intensified, humanity's hidden strengths began to emerge. The Imperium's initial shock at the unexpected resistance had worn off, replaced by a grim determination to crush this upstart species. But they were about to learn that humans were far more resourceful than they had anticipated. In the chaos of the orbital battle, a small, unremarkable ship slipped away from Earth. On board, Dr. Ilara Voss and a hand-picked team of Earth's brightest minds carried with them the fruits of their desperate research and humanity's best hope for survival. Status report. Ilara demanded as their ship, the Stargazer, accelerated towards the edge of the solar system. Dr. Kai Chen looked up from his console, his face gaunt from days without sleep. The quantum entanglement network is holding. We're receiving real-time updates from Earth and all our off-world bases. Ilara nodded grimly. And the package? Secure and stable, Kai confirmed. The biotech interface is ready for deployment. We just need to get close enough to an Imperial command ship. Their plan was audacious, bordering on insane. The package was a hybrid of Earth's most advanced biotechnology and reverse-engineered Imperial tech, a virus that could interface directly with the aliens' neural networks. If successful, it could turn the Imperium's greatest strength, their hyper-connected fleet, into their greatest weakness. Back on Earth, the situation was dire but not hopeless. Imperial forces had established beachheads in several major cities, but they were meeting fierce resistance. In the ruins of New York, a squad of human soldiers, enhanced by Ilara's bioengineered symbiotes, engaged in close-quarter combat with Imperial shock troops. Sergeant Maria Alvarez felt the alien symbiote pulse beneath her skin as she vaulted over a collapsed wall. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to dodge a barrage of Imperial energy weapons, closing the distance to her alien opponents. In close combat, the hulking Imperial warriors found themselves outmatched by the smaller, faster humans. "Echo Team, push forward," Maria shouted into her comm. "We need to secure that landing zone for the counterattack." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Humanity, it seemed, excelled at the chaos of ground warfare in a way the Imperium had never encountered. Imperial tactics relied heavily on overwhelming firepower and strict command hierarchies. In contrast, human forces operated in small, adaptable units, using the urban terrain to their advantage. In orbit, Admiral Nasser's fleet continued its hit-and-run tactics against the numerically superior Imperial Armada. The UES Defiant emerged from the shadow of a destroyed moon base, its dark matter cannons firing in a devastating alpha strike against an Imperial cruiser. "Direct hit," the weapons officer reported. "Enemy ship is breaking up." Nasser allowed himself a grim smile. "Good work. Now get us out of here before." His words were cut off as the Defiant shuddered under heavy fire. An Imperial dreadnought had anticipated their maneuver, catching them in a crossfire. "Shields critical," the ops officer shouted. "We can't take another hit like that." Nasser's mind raced. They were too far from any cover, and their FTL drive was still recharging. Then he remembered a crazy idea from one of the science team's briefings. Engineering. Reroute all power to the dark matter injectors. Navigation. Plot a micro-jump directly behind the enemy dreadnought. "Sir," his XO questioned, shock evident in her voice. "At this range, the spatial distortion could tear us apart." "It'll tear them apart too," Nasser countered. "Do it." The Defiant vanished in a burst of twisted spacetime, reappearing mere kilometers behind the Imperial flagship. The wake of their jump created a localized spacetime distortion that sheared off a huge section of the alien vessel. As the crippled dreadnought drifted away, Nasser opened a channel to the rest of the fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Nasser. Implement Protocol Omega. I repeat, Omega is in effect." Across the battlefield, human ships began to execute seemingly random FTL jumps. To the Imperial fleet, it appeared as if their enemies had gone mad, jumping wildly around the combat zone. But there was method to this madness. Each jump left in its wake a ripple of distorted spacetime. As these distortions overlapped and interacted, they began to form a complex, ever-shifting maze that played havoc with Imperial sensors and weapons. Meanwhile, the Stargazer had reached its destination, a massive Imperial command carrier on the outskirts of the solar system. Ilara and her team worked feverishly to finalize their biotech virus. "We'll only get one shot at this," Ilara reminded them. "Once we activate the virus, the Imperium will adapt quickly. We need to hit as many of their ships as possible in the first wave." Kai nodded, making a final adjustment to the quantum entanglement transmitter. "Ready on your mark, Doctor." Ilara took a deep breath, acutely aware that the fate of her species might hinge on this moment. "Initiate transmission." The virus streaked across space, riding the quantum entanglement network that the Imperium relied on for faster-than-light communication. It struck the command carrier first, its hybrid nature allowing it to interface seamlessly with the ship's biomechanical systems. Aboard the Imperial vessel, chaos erupted. Alien crew members found themselves unable to control their ship's systems. Weapons powered down, shields fluctuated, and navigation went haywire. But this was just the beginning. The virus spread rapidly through the Imperial network, jumping from ship to ship. Within minutes, a significant portion of the Imperium's fleet was in disarray. On Earth, the effects were immediately noticeable. Imperial ground forces suddenly found themselves cut off from orbital support. Their advanced weapons malfunctioned, and their communication networks dissolved into static. In New York, Sergeant Alvarez watched in amazement as the Imperial troops facing her squad suddenly seemed to lose cohesion. Their coordinated attacks devolved into individual panicked actions. "All units," she called into her comm. a fierce grin on her face. The enemy is in disarray. Press the advantage. Push them back. Similar scenes unfolded across the globe. Human forces, bolstered by their symbiote enhancements and intimate knowledge of the terrain, began to turn the tide against the invaders. In orbit, Admiral Nasser seized the opportunity. All ships, this is Nasser. Commence Operation Slingshot. Let's show these bastards what happens when they underestimate humanity. The human fleet sprang into action, their FTL drives spinning up in perfect synchronization. What followed was a masterpiece of four-dimensional combat. Ships jumped in and out of normal space, their movements precisely calculated to maximize the chaos of spatial distortions while allowing the human vessels to strike with pinpoint accuracy. Imperial ships, still reeling from the effects of the biotech virus, found themselves caught in a deadly net of fire and twisted spacetime. One by one, the mighty vessels of the Imperium began to fall. On the Stargazer, Ilara and her team watched the battle unfold with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "It's working," Kai whispered, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "We might actually win this." Ilara nodded, allowing herself a small smile. But she knew the war was far from over. "This is just the beginning, Kai. The Imperium will adapt, and they'll be back. We need to be ready." As the battle for Earth reached its climax, news of the human victory began to spread across the galaxy. On countless worlds under Imperial rule, oppressed species looked to the skies with new hope. The undefeatable Imperium had been bloodied, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the rubble of Earth's cities, as human forces celebrated their unlikely victory, Ilara Voss turned her gaze to the stars. The Imperium had awakened a sleeping giant, and she intended to make sure they regretted it. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and this time, humanity would take the fight to the stars. The Empire strikes back. The celebrations on Earth were short-lived. As the dust settled from humanity's unexpected victory, a grim reality set in. The Imperium had been bloodied, but not defeated. And now, they were angry. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Nasser stood before the United Earth Council, his face etched with concern. "Ladies and gentlemen, our deep space probes have detected massive Imperial fleet movements. They're gathering forces on a scale we've never seen before. We estimate they'll reach our solar system within 2 months." President Okoro's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her worry. "What are our options, Admiral?" "We've fortified Earth as best we can," Nasser replied. "But our outer colonies are vulnerable. Mars, Europa, Titan, they don't have the defenses to withstand a full-scale assault." Dr. Ilara Voss, newly appointed as Earth's chief of xenotechnology, spoke up. "We've made significant advancements in adapting Imperial tech, but we're still outgunned. Our best bet is to continue guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes." The council chamber erupted in heated debate. Some argued for abandoning the outer colonies to focus on Earth's defense. Others insisted on standing their ground across the solar system. In the end, a compromise was reached. Earth would be fortified as humanity's last stand, but they wouldn't abandon their colonies without a fight. Each outpost would be equipped with the latest human innovations, including improved dark matter weapons and biotech interfaces. As the council adjourned, Ilara caught up with Admiral Nasser in the corridor. "Tarek, I need your help. I have an idea, but it's unconventional." Nasser raised an eyebrow. "Coming from you, Doctor, that's saying something. What do you have in mind?" Ilara lowered her voice. "We've been studying the quantum entanglement network we used to deploy the virus. I think we can use it to create a sort of psychic weapon." "Psychic weapon?" Nasser's skepticism was evident. "Not in the sci-fi sense," Ilara clarified, "but a way to directly interface with and disrupt the Imperium's collective consciousness. It could give us a significant advantage." Nasser nodded slowly. "All right, you have my attention. What do you need?" Access to the captured Imperial prisoners, Ilara replied. And volunteers. 2 months later, as the massive Imperial armada appeared at the edge of the solar system, humanity was as ready as it could be. Earth bristled with defenses, a shell of satellites and space stations forming a multi-layered barrier around the planet. The lunar surface had been transformed into a massive railgun battery, capable of launching dark matter projectiles with devastating accuracy. On Mars, Colonel Maria Alvarez, promoted after her heroics in New York, oversaw the planet's defenses. Her soldiers, all equipped with advanced symbiotes, manned fortifications that blended seamlessly with the Martian landscape. "They're here," her XO reported, pointing to the holographic display showing thousands of Imperial ships entering the system. Maria nodded grimly. "So it begins. All units, battle stations, remember your training. We are the first line of defense for Earth. We will not fall." The battle erupted with a ferocity that dwarfed the previous invasion. Imperial ships unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that lit up the space around Mars, but the human defenses held, for now. Cloaked human ships darted between the massive Imperial vessels, striking with precision before disappearing into the void. But for every Imperial ship they destroyed, 10 more seemed to take its place. On the UES Defiant, Admiral Nasser coordinated the defense. Status report. "Mars is holding, sir, but they're taking heavy fire. Titan has gone dark. We've lost contact. Europa reports multiple breaches in their ice shields." Nasser gritted his teeth. They were losing ground, fast. "Where's Dr. Voss? Is she ready with that weapon of hers?" As if in answer, a transmission came through. Ilara's face appeared on the screen, her eyes burning with a strange intensity. "Admiral, we're ready, but I have to warn you, this is going to get weird." Before Nasser could respond, Ilara activated her device. Across the battlefield, human soldiers and pilots suddenly felt a strange presence in their minds. It wasn't intrusive, but rather a comforting connection, as if they could sense each other's thoughts and intentions. For the Imperium, the effect was far less pleasant. Their carefully coordinated attacks began to falter as their collective consciousness was assaulted by an alien presence. Imperial ships began to move erratically, their crews struggling against an invisible enemy. On Mars, Maria felt the change immediately. Suddenly, she knew exactly where her troops were, what they were seeing, almost as if she was fighting through 1,000 bodies at once. "All units, press the advantage," she shouted, her words carrying a weight of collective will behind them. The human counterattack was devastating. Moving with impossible coordination, they struck at the weakest points in the Imperial formation. Dark matter weapons tore through the fabric of space-time, leaving Imperial ships twisted and broken in their wake. But the Imperium was not so easily defeated. From the heart of their fleet, a massive ship emerged, easily 10 times the size of their largest dreadnought. Its surface rippled with energy, and as it approached Mars, Nasser realized with horror what it was. "All ships, fall back," he shouted. "They're going to." His words were cut off as the Imperial superweapon fired. A beam of pure energy lanced out, striking Mars with unimaginable force. The planet's surface began to crack, fissures of molten rock spreading across its face. "No," Maria screamed, feeling the pain of every soldier on the surface through their psychic link. "Evacuate. Everyone off planet now." As the human forces retreated from Mars, the full might of the Imperial fleet bore down on Earth. The outer defenses crumbled under the onslaught, and soon the battle raged in Earth's orbit. Nasser's voice was grim as he addressed the fleet. "This is it, people. Earth's last stand. Whatever happens, it's been an honor serving with you all." As the fate of humanity hung in the balance, Ilara worked frantically to boost the power of her psychic interface. If they could just push a little harder, disrupt the Imperium's coordination a little more. Suddenly, a new signal broke through the chaos of battle. A transmission, not from Earth or any known human colony, but from deep space. As the message decoded, Ilara's eyes widened in shock. "Admiral," she called out, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and hope. "You need to see this. I think we just got reinforcements." As the battle for Earth reached its crescendo, a new player entered the game. The war for humanity's survival was about to take an unexpected turn, turning the tide. The space around Earth blazed with the fire of countless weapons, the planet's last defenses crumbling under the relentless Imperial assault. But all eyes, human and alien alike, turned to the newcomers emerging from the depths of space. A fleet of sleek, organic-looking ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their design unlike anything seen by humans or the Imperium. As they approached with impossible speed, a message broadcast across all frequencies. "People of Earth, stand firm. The Collective has heard your call, and we answer. The tyranny of the Imperium ends today." On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Admiral Nasir turned to Ilara, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Dr. Voss, what the hell is going on?" Ilara's fingers flew over her console, analyzing the new arrivals. It's incredible. These ships, they're not just machines. They're alive, a perfect fusion of organic and technological components. And that psychic signal we've been broadcasting, they're amplifying it, exponentially. Across the battlefield, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The Imperial fleet, already struggling against the human psychic assault, found itself overwhelmed by the combined mental force of humanity and their new allies. Imperial ships began to break formation, their crews' minds clouded by confusion and fear. Some vessels simply shut down, their biomechanical systems overloaded by the psychic onslaught. The Collective fleet moved with breathtaking coordination, their organic ships morphing and adapting in real time to counter Imperial tactics. They fought not just with advanced weaponry, but with the power of a unified consciousness that dwarfed even the Imperium's hive mind. On Earth, in the underground command center, President Okoro received a direct communication from the Collective. The being that appeared on the screen was humanoid, but clearly alien. Its skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and its eyes held depths of wisdom and age beyond human comprehension. "Greetings, leaders of Earth," the alien spoke, its voice resonating with multiple harmonics. "We are the Collective, a union of species who have long opposed the Imperium's tyranny. We have watched your struggle with great interest, your species' resilience and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. It reminded us of who we once were before we grew complacent." Okoro, momentarily speechless, gathered herself. We thank you for your aid. But why now? Why didn't you help us sooner?" The alien's expression shifted, conveying a complex mix of emotions. "We have our own laws, our own prime directive, if you will. Non-interference in the development of younger species. But your broadcast, your psychic weapon, it showed us that you had achieved a level of consciousness that made you ready for first contact. True first contact, not the brutality of Imperial subjugation." As they spoke, the tide of battle turned dramatically. The combined forces of humanity and the Collective pushed the Imperial fleet back, their once mighty armada now in disarray. Admiral Nasser, seizing the moment, issued a fleet-wide command. "All ships, this is Admiral Nasser. Converge on the Imperial command ship. Let's end this, here and now." The Defiant led the charge, flanked by Collective vessels that morphed into living shields, absorbing enemy fire. Human ships darted between their larger allies, their dark matter weapons tearing holes in reality that swallowed entire Imperial squadrons. On Mars, or what remained of it, Colonel Maria Alvarez led a desperate counterattack. The planet's surface was a hellscape of molten rock and toxic atmosphere, but pockets of human resistance still fought on. With the aid of their symbiotes and the Collective's psychic support, they pushed back against the Imperial ground forces. For Earth, for Mars, for humanity, Maria's battle cry echoed across the psychic network, inspiring human forces across the solar system. As the battle reached its climax, the massive Imperial superweapon prepared to fire again, this time aimed at Earth itself. But before it could unleash its planet-killing beam, a squad of collective ships surrounded it. They began to glow with an intense energy, creating a bubble of warped space-time around the superweapon. "What are they doing?" Nasser asked, watching the scene unfold on his tactical display. Ilara's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. They're creating a localized time dilation field. They're slowing down time inside that bubble. The effect was spectacular. The Imperial superweapon, caught in the time dilation field, seemed to move in slow motion. Its energy beam, when finally released, emerged at a snail's pace, giving the Allied fleet ample time to move Earth's population to safety. With their superweapon neutralized and their fleet in chaos, the Imperial command structure began to crumble. The Defiant, leading a final assault, broke through to the Imperial flagship. "Attention Imperial vessel," Nasser broadcast. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your weapon is neutralized. Surrender now or be destroyed." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, a transmission from the Imperial ship. This is unprecedented. Never in the history of the Imperium have we surrender. We surrender." As the news spread across the battlefield, cheers erupted from human ships and colonies. The Imperium, which had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, had finally been defeated. In the aftermath, as the solar system began the long process of rebuilding, humanity found itself facing a new reality. They were no longer alone in the universe, but part of a larger galactic community. The collective offered membership to Earth, a chance to join a union of species dedicated to mutual growth and exploration. But they made it clear, it was an offer, not a demand. Humanity would be free to choose its own path. In a private meeting with collective representatives, Ilara Voss and Admiral Nasser represented humanity's interests. "Your species has shown remarkable potential," the collective leader said. "Your adaptability, your drive to survive against all odds. These are qualities that will serve you well among the stars." Nasser nodded, but his expression was cautious. "And what happens now? The Imperium may be defeated, but surely they're not the only threat out there." The aliens' bioluminescent patterns shifted in what might have been a smile. "Indeed not, Admiral. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders and dangers, but you've proven yourselves worthy allies. Together, we can face whatever comes next." Ilara stepped forward, her eyes shining with the prospect of new discoveries. "We have so much to learn from each other. Our technologies, our cultures. The possibilities are endless." As they discussed humanity's future role in the galactic community, Earth began its recovery. The scars of war would take time to heal, but there was a new sense of unity and purpose among the human species. Mars, despite the devastation it had suffered, became a symbol of human resilience. Terraforming efforts began immediately, with collective technology accelerating the process beyond anything humans had thought possible. And in orbit around Earth, construction began on a new type of ship, one that combined the best of human ingenuity, imperial tech, and collective bioengineering. It would be the first of a new fleet, designed not for war, but for exploration. As the ship neared completion, Ilara stood in the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly below. Admiral Nasser joined her, his uniform exchanged for the outfit of a civilian leader. "So," he said, gazing out at the stars, "ready for our next great adventure?" Ilara smiled, feeling the weight of possibility in the air. "More than ready. The Imperium thought they were coming to conquer us. Instead, they opened the door to the universe." As they watched, the first rays of sunlight crept over Earth's horizon, heralding a new dawn, not just for their planet, but for humanity's place in the cosmos. The war was over. The age of exploration had begun, and humanity, having faced extinction and emerged victorious, was ready to take its place among the stars.